Greetings, I'm Rob Chapman and welcome to an absolute beginner's blues or lead guitar lesson. I just figured it's about time I'll break it down and teach you something that's practical if you're a beginner or kind of becoming an intermediate. And by beginner what I mean is a guy that doesn't really know many more than sort of a few open chord shapes, you know, maybe D or E or whatever, and maybe you've learned the first blues scale shape. If you know a couple of those bits, you're really a beginner, and I want to show you a couple of really simple things that will, it's not like a cheat code or a shortcut because you've got to put the hours in and you've got to work really hard, but it will certainly give you a tool to use to practice improvising your lead guitar, and this can be as easy or as difficult as you would like it to be. So let's start by giving you some tuning notes. I'm tuned half a step down, the tuning for the people. Buy a tuning pedal if you don't already have one, or get a little clip-on tuner or some pipes or whatever you want to use, and tune all the strings down one semitone, one fret, primarily because I'm in that tuning, but also because you'll be learning lots of different songs, and you're going to find really soon that lots of people, different bands, solo artists, they tune all sorts of different ways. It's never really clear-cut. There is the standard concert pitch, but lots of artists will drop tune or tune everything down a semitone or down a whole tone, and you want to become used to working out a tuning and then tuning the guitar, stretching the strings, tuning it again, and then being able to do that without kind of worrying about it or having it put you off learning something just because it's in a different tuning. Here are my tuning notes. Okay, doesn't matter what gear you've got, you can have an acoustic guitar, electric guitar, tiny amp, big amp, doesn't make any difference at all. This is about putting the hard work in, learning some basic theory that's going to rocket you forwards and help you with your improvisation. Let's start with looking at the blues. Most of the blues that you see will be in what they call a 3-chord trick. And you're going to think, oh, I've got to learn 3 different chord shapes. You don't have to. You can learn 1 chord shape and do all of it. Here is the chord shape I'm going to teach you. It's just 3 fingers. It's a favourite of mine and Captain Lee's. And it's just these 3 notes. First, the swearing finger, your second finger, will be on the E string, which is now E flat, D sharp, and it's the 5th fret. Then your first finger goes down a string to the A string and on the 4th fret. And your third finger is the 5th fret, D string. Kind of makes like a triangle shape, if you can imagine a dot under each of your fingers on the strings, and it makes a really cool sounding chord. It's what we call a dominant chord. So this particular chord, if we pretend we're in sort of tune to standard, would be an A dominant chord. It's got an A note. It's got what we call a third or a major third, which makes chords sound happy. And it's got what we call a flatted 7th, which makes things kind of cool and funky and a bit more different. It isn't a regular major chord like this. It isn't overtly happy, it's just slightly funky. We use that chord a lot in blues. And this shape, you just move it around to make your 3-chord trick. So the first one starts off rooted here, and then you're going to come down a string and play the whole shape rooted from the A string. So exactly the same shape, all the fingers come down 1 string. So this is now a D7 or a D dominant chord. And then if you take this exact same shape and take it up 1, 2 frets, there's the 3rd chord that you're going to play. And this went from D to D sharp to E. So you've got A, you've got D, and you've got E. So now, what you could do, if you know your first pentatonic blues scale and you start it from the note here, the A note, maybe you know the blues scale, or maybe you just know the pentatonic notes. Doesn't matter, but you can start off with the first chord and play any rhythm that feels natural to you, and then try playing a few notes from that scale. Try playing two of the notes at the same time to create what we call a double stop. And then change the chord to the next chord in the progression, which is down the string and playing the D chord. Back to the home chord and then along to the E. Try bending the notes to reach another note in the same scale. So that's the rudiments, but I can make it way easier for you. If you're having a problem playing chords, or you don't want to think about chords and scale at the same time, and you want to improve your lead playing, we're lucky because in the key of A, the progression would be A, D, and E. And if you look at the strings, you've got an A string, you've got a D string, and you've got an E string. So you've probably already thought ahead and realized you could just be like... And you've got your progression, and it's really easy to play these notes, these open strings, while you're playing a little bit of lead. So that would sound like something like this. That's in one position on the fretboard. We're using position 1 blues scale. If you don't know, there are 5 of them. And all it is you play the same scale, but you play it along one string. And each of those notes you can play another scale from. And you want to Google 5 positions of the pentatonic blues scale and learn them all. And you can play these open strings to make the basic chord progression underneath you and still play the lead. So I could be up in position 3 or 4. So you can move to any of the different positions, use the open strings to kind of mimic the chords and play along. Why am I recommending this rather than playing over a backing track or playing over something that you've looped? Because this keeps you in mind of the chord way more, because you're having to play the root note of the chord. So you're thinking about what you're playing over. And if you set off thinking about a chord and then the notes you play over it as you learn, it's going to give you a much better foundation for progression when you start delving into, I don't know, sort of bigger, interesting chords. All I'm doing is I'm just noodling. I'm playing chords in a chord scale. There's a scale of chords. And then I'm playing an appropriate scale that fits with them. And really, that's what you're doing now. Congratulate yourselves. I've been Rob Chapman. Chappers out. Good luck.